Greetings, I'm Dr. Jamantha Williams Watson. Today's message is on conquering the fear of public speaking. Research indicates that 75% of the world's population fears speaking in public. I was at an event several years ago, and a woman got up to speak. Not long into her speech, she hit the floor. Bam, she hit the floor. She hit her head, and we all just feared the worst. We had no idea what had happened. When she finally came to, she told us that the reason that she was absolutely, that she fell out and that she fainted was because she was afraid. She was afraid of her audience. She feared speaking in front of people. And ever since then, ever since that day that, I experienced that, I was there, one of the people in the audience, that I experienced that, I did decide to do research on why people are so afraid, of speaking in public. My dad's been preaching for years, ever since I've been alive. My mom's been teaching, and my dad's been teaching and preaching, and everyone in my family, we're all teachers. And so, speaking in public is what we do. And so I just wanted to finally figure out what in the world, was the actual root of the fear of people speaking or being afraid of people, afraid of actually speaking in public. Now, one thing that we have to really figure out and realize is that the majority of us, when we get up in front of people that we don't know, that we don't realize that are in the audience, we clam up. But that's not a bad thing. Speaking in front of people, being afraid or having this fear of public speaking, that can be an adrenaline booster as you are speaking. So let's get down to it. Let's figure out what it is that we can actually do to conquer this fear. One thing that we can possibly do is we can actually remain calm. We can calm down. And what do we mean by that? Breathing, inhaling through your diaphragm. The diaphragmatic breathing that we often don't always have because we're always rushing here, rushing there, and we're always constricted. And so when we're constricted and when we have that fear, it just tightens everything else up. And so it tightens up our breathing, it tightens everything. And so we're unable to really relax. So one thing that we should do is just relax, calm down, breathe. One of my students the other day in class, she did a fabulous speech on music therapy and how music itself can really help us calm down, relax. Certain types of songs. I love classical music. Whatever it is that you like, whatever you'd like to listen to before you do your speech, prior to your speech, you can turn that on and listen to that. Another thing is talking to someone. You may have someone, a buddy, someone that you need to speak with before you even actually go to the actual event, actually to the interview, or actually to speak before this large crowd of people. You may need your husband or your wife or your children or your spouse, your spouse's, relatives, your in-laws, or your roommate, whomever it is that you may need to talk to, and before you actually go and speak to them. They can actually comfort you. Another thing is exercise. I'm a big exercise buff. I love exercising. Walking is great. Walking around campus, even before you have to speak. Walking in your room, walking in your dorm room, walking around your home, wherever it is. It doesn't have to be a lot of exercise, but just something, some kind of cardio that gets your blood circulating, gets your blood and your mind and your, all of it moving in the right direction, emotionally, physically, spiritually. It's all, going in the right direction. You're warmed up before you even get up there to speak. Secondly, one thing that we can focus on is the audience. Who is that audience that you're focusing on? Who is in your audience? Knowing your audience dynamic is very essential to conquering the fear of public speaking. Believe it or not, you may have the same speech, but you're going to give that speech to different audience members according to who they are. If you have a 3 to 5 year old audience members for pre-K or through kindergarten, that's going to be, it's the same speech, but it's going to be a different audience, a different delivery that you have than you would, let's say, if you were in college and you're giving that same speech to your peer group, or to your parents group, or to your grandparents group, in the nursing home. So your audience dynamic, knowing who knowing what that demographic is, knowing what that socioeconomic dynamic is, it all plays a part in who is in the audience and what it is you have to say. The main reason being is that you're focusing more on their need, not necessarily on, who's in here or what are they going to say about me. You're focusing more on what the message is that you have to bring to them. That's the focus. You may have a very important message on financial issues that we all need to hear, or health issues that we all need to hear. And you may want to deliver it in different ways, depending on the audience. But that's something, if you're focusing on the need and not necessarily, oh my God, what are they going to say? Yes, everyone is looking at you because you're in the center of the room, you have the floor, and we're all looking at you. So there is no way around that. So stand there and deliver the speech, and just really be very confident about, you have this information that you want to deliver, whether it's persuasive information, whether it's a demonstration speech, whether it's an informative speech, whatever it is that you want to deliver to the audience. Make sure that you know who the audience is. And most of the time we can prepare for that and we can understand that. Thirdly and lastly, we want to make sure that we are prepared. I walked into the classroom the other day and I was so really overjoyed to see that one of my students had already set up the classroom the way he wanted. He had already prepared, he had already set up his visual aids were already there for us, so that when we walked in, everything was already set up. He had already had everything together. The visual aids were there. His podium was already set up. Everything was set up. And also he had his outline. So make sure that your outline, you've already outlined your speech. You've gotten your note cards for your speech. You've done everything that you possibly can to really prepare for this speech. You've practiced also, how long is the speech? 2 to 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. How long is it supposed to be actually? So you want to make sure you have all of that prepared before you even speak. And more than likely, this will eliminate 50% of your anxiety of speaking before an audience, okay? So that we won't have to experience anyone else, passing out and fainting because you're just overwhelmed by the number of people in the room, or just that there are people that you have to speak to that you don't know. So let's go back over once again. We want to make sure that we are focusing on calming down, breathing, relaxing, exercising, making sure that we're taking care of our relaxing abilities. Secondly, we want to make sure that we are focusing on the audience dynamics, who's in the audience. Focus on the audience. What is it that they need? What is it that you want to give to the audience? Make sure that they're in there and you're focusing on their need, not necessarily, you're focusing on that they're looking at you, okay? But you're focusing on their need to get this information. And then last, but certainly not least, is the need to prepare. We want to make sure that we are fully prepared to give the speech that we have been assigned to give, okay? Or even going to your interview. Make sure that you're prepared for that as well, okay? So I hope I've said something to encourage you, to inspire you, to help you along your way today. I'm Dr. Jamantha Williams Watson, reminding you that effective communication is the key to success. Peace and manifold blessings.